I think it takes a special type of person to be able to do something like this. Maybe either A, not let it, affect the rest of your life, or yeah, be able to have that compassion with working with people day in and day out and not letting it be just desensitize you. We're talking very vaguely, but I know things like suicide, big blood cleanups, like I just can't imagine that it's not hard to be shocked by some of the scenarios, right? But yet you still have to be a human being about everything that you're facing. So, without too many details, is there anything you can share about some experiences, some cleanup scenarios, something that kind of the audience might be able to either relate to or understand what it is that you guys actually do?
Yeah, when we were talking about what kind of stories we could share for this, there was one job that stood out among most because it hit so many different levels of what we do as a profession. It has a real estate component to it. And we were able to just go above and beyond like we try to do in every job, but we were really able to help this family. So the situation is we got a phone call and we were told that we needed to respond very quickly, and the phone call was from law enforcement. We have really good relationships with law enforcement, so we can come out and help quickly. And initially, we were just told that we were there to unfortunately retrieve some deceased animals, some dogs that had passed away in a home. And the only access I remember very distinctly was around back in the house. And as soon as we opened the door, without giving too much detail, when you arrive on site for an unattended death and a decomposition, there's a very very specific odor, and you'll never forget it once you smell it the first time. And as soon as we opened the door, we knew immediately this was more than what we were initially
Mm.
told on the phone. So we always make sure we're suited up, we have the proper PPE just to even do an estimate and figure out what we're getting into, because it's an unknown space for us. That's a safety issue, and we want to make sure we're safe going through. So we ended up discovering and targeting the specific room where the individual had passed away. That in and our instincts were correct there. And the really heartbreaking emotional part of this was they were a dog breeder, and this person had been deceased for several weeks. So unfortunately, the animals passed because they were malnourished and there was no one there to take care of them. And that really pulled on us from a heartstrings perspective. Just we're all human, right? No one like seeing that
Yeah.
was really hard. Um, on the positive side, we were able to rescue a cat that was in the house that had survived, and we were able to donate all of the kennels and everything that we found and supplies to animal control, and we're able to pass those on and disinfect that as well. And the cat was able to be rescued. Um, but as we looked through the house, we knew this job was also going to be bigger than remediating the room with the decomposition. It was also very hoarded. So there were a lot of components here. And next of kin was enjoying a wonderful vacation in Disney World. They were not in North
Mm.
Carolina and in the space at the time. So they they were really shocked on vacation. It was a big deal, and it was something that they weren't expecting. And it was a cousin, so it wasn't an immediate next of kin, but it was a cousin that was responsible for all of this. So, what we did, we got in touch with them, and the first step is to immediately build that trust. And trust doesn't happen overnight, right? This is something that you have to build over time, and you have to show with action, and you have to show with compassion and following up with your words. And as we start remediating the decomposition, we also started finding really important paperwork and
Mm.
documents and anything that can help them start piecing together the estate and what is owed, and also trying to figure out what does homeowners insurance look like, because you often don't know what type of homeowners insurance your loved ones have. You don't know what the policy includes. You don't know if it's up to date. And so those documents are very important to find as well. And do you want to talk about what you did going above and beyond?
Yeah. So this particular client, he was like, we're pretty estranged. We really don't know 100% of what we're going to do. And the first contact, they didn't even know what was going on in the house. So um, either they were shocked or confused or whatever when law enforcement called. So we found ourselves having to explain here's what we're dealing with, here's what we're going on. But we started finding bank statements, insurance documentation, all these things, and I actually was able to put together a spreadsheet of most current debts just to get them going as they were trying to open up the estate. We were also able to try to treat the paperwork because, again, that particular odor that Krista was describing tends to stick to things a little bit more. I think
Mm.
we probably all have kind of a little bit of an evolutionary key to that odor, which just says stay away. But we were able to treat that paperwork as well in such a way that they could take it off and again turn it over to the attorneys, go through things as we were removing some of the obvious garbage, debris, things like that from the home for the hoarding perspective of things. Do you want to talk about the contents?
The contents, there were antiques all over this
Mm.
place. And I am not I mean, I cannot tell you what is like Victorian 16th century. Like there were phrases being thrown around by our team that, just has background and experience in looking for things. And I'm just thinking, I don't know what you're saying, but it sounds important.
Yeah.
And I trust you all. And so we were able to connect with the an antique shop in the local community, and it turns out not only do they obviously have an eye out for these types of really valuable possessions to flip and turn and resell, but they were also flipping homes as well. And this was that perfect property for them to take a look at and see, is this something that we can help take off their hands, and then also take a look and restore and resell some of these antiques that were just so beautiful. And it was paintings, it was chairs, it was furniture, there were just so many little items that were just hidden under the hoard in this house that we were able to disinfect. But then
Yeah.
also the family could strike up a deal with this company to quickly move the property, get a really good value for the property, and we were able to make those connections for everybody really
Awesome.
quickly.
Yeah.
So that was it was a very big job. It took probably a week to go through everything, and we also worked closely with insurance to cover it. They covered the decomposition, and then they covered all of our work with the hoarding situation. And it was one of those jobs where you walk away and you know you did right.